Hey everyone, welcome back to another video here at Justin's Fish Room. Today we've got a pretty cool video in store. We have a video dedicated solely to my favorite fish in my fish room, which are the black celestial rams. So today we're going to be talking about breeding, we're going to be talking about sexing them, we're going to be talking about general care and husbandry, cleaning, whatever we get through, we'll get through, and whatever we don't, just put inquiries down in the comments below and I'll answer them there. So I'm very excited because, as you guys know, we've been breeding heaps of these guys, and I've got container after container of black celestial rams. So let's get started, but before we do jump into it, I would just like to say a huge thank you to all of you who expressed concern for my partner Britt. Just letting you know, she is doing really well. She did get her appendix removed, and we made it just in time to the hospital. So yeah, we definitely had someone looking out for us. So thank you for all of you who gave your warm wishes and just had really positive comments. It really meant the world to her. So let's get started. Alrighty, so first things first, we're going to talk about sexing these rams. So you can see on the screen at the moment there is a female black celestial line ram. And the reason why I call these the black celestial line is because, as you can see, the female spangling is so brilliant it looks like you're staring at a night sky. So if you've ever wondered why I call them the black celestial line, now you know why. The female of this type of ram, or color morph of ram, is my favorite just because of how beautiful that spangling is and how prominent it is. So females of the species are often a lot smaller, meaning rams in general, but for the color morph, the spangling is very, very prominent on the black ram line. I'm going to show you now a male of the same color morph to show you the difference. Alrighty, so here is a male, and he's kind of getting ready to sleep now, so let's see if I can find another male. Okay, here we go. Hopefully we can get some focus. You can see that this is a subdominant male to my other male beluga, which you guys know from previous videos, and this guy is completely black in his body. So he has got some turquoise flaring going, or spangling going, in his fins, in his anal fin, his pectoral fins, and his caudal fin, and in his dorsal fin. However, predominantly he's black. And the camera would agree with me because it is actually almost impossible for me to get the amount of light that I'm getting in this shot right now. So that is the main difference between the male black rams and the female. Alrighty, so breeding setup. Breeding setup for these guys is very, very simple and universal to all rams. You can see two pairs of my blue-black line here, kind of, I guess, sizing each other up over this particular spawning site. They constantly swap and change between spawning sites, as in this pair, but it looks like these guys have got it. So you can see I've cracked open a pot that surrounds a black pebble. Now the black pebble is very, very crucial for rams, as they like to lay on black stones for the very reason that they have white eggs and they like to see their eggs a lot better. Now you can imagine being in the wild where they're prone to having no light in the wild at all. These guys would want to see their eggs in the evening if possible. So I guess laying their eggs on a black surface makes that a lot easier for them. Just a bit of logic to give to you guys, just so you understand why I use black pebbles. And I've also noticed that given the option of a white pebble and a black pebble, they will always choose the darker pebble. So you can see on the screen this beautiful female. Now this female is actually a bachelor female. She's been flirting quite a bit with, let's see if I can get in, this second dominant male behind Beluga. You guys all know Beluga. He's pretty insane. He's a huge ram. Somewhere in the back there, I can never really get good footage of him because he's always in the dark. And obviously being a black ram, it's not the best for footage. But overall, I can say with breeding setup, and you've probably asked me questions in my comments before, I always tell you that you need a lot of wood or driftwood, a lot of stone, and a lot of plants. And for those of you who have received that feedback from me, you can see that that's exactly what I do here. Now, I prefer to keep my rams with a fine substrate, but with these guys, they're so voracious at eating, I actually have to keep the bottom bare so that I can suck up all of the buildup, organic buildup. So you can see that my filtration is a sponge filter there. There's another sponge filter at the back there, and that's all I have. These guys don't need special filtration, as there's not that many fish in this tank. There's about, I'd say, between 12 and 14 fish in total. So they don't really need a sump filter or a canister filter. I just find that's not necessary. Plus, as you guys know, this plant here in the middle of the screen is my favorite plant. And the reason is because that acts as a natural filter in my fish tanks. It grows so much. You can see how tall they get. And I only put that in last week, and it's already growing so tall. And that is evidence of ammonia and organic matter being processed and converted into innate, safe plant material, which is great for these guys and very beneficial. So let's see if I can get good footage of these black rams here. This female here, she's the bachelorette female. I think I said bachelor before, I meant bachelorette. So she doesn't have a partner yet, but she's been flirting with the male who owns this kind of residential area here, which is that male there. So she's a very good looking female for a black ram, and he's a very good looking male. But I'm gonna quickly get some footage of Beluga. Let's see if I can get some footage. So that's Beluga in the back. You can see the bump on his head. How cool is that? You know, he's disappeared again. But yeah, he is the king of the tank, and he is an absolute beast. If I had to find a fish to take a picture of for what black ram should look like, or what a male black ram should look like, I would definitely choose him. He is just amazing, and he exhibits some physiology that you don't necessarily see on a lot of other fish. So people ask me a lot about the dorsal fleck on fish. In my previous videos, I have talked about sexing rams using the dorsal fleck. So usually with the dorsal fleck, I wish I could get a good shot of this guy. The very first fleck is very long on the male, and as you can see, the very first fleck on the female is very short. And this is this is one of the factors that I use to determine the sex of black rams too. So I should have added that in the beginning, but I didn't get a good enough shot. But now I'm telling you guys. So it looks like this female has actually become submissive. She's not chasing this male around as much, and he looks like he is accepting her in his little territory. So hopefully they should breed soon. That would be amazing. Alrighty, so now my next point is going to be about water changes. I get a lot of questions about how many water changes do I do per week and how much. So my rule of thumb is for a 3-foot tank like this with about 12 to 14 fish in it, I will do a every second day water change. I used to do every day, but with uni and other commitments, it's quite hard. So with these guys, I do an every second day water change of about 25%. It used to be a lot more than that, but I actually find it is very unnecessary to do so many water changes. These guys can, withstand no water changes for up to a week, and then I find that their reproductivity starts to get a little lower. So with water changes, there's obviously triggers for spawning. So those of you who don't know, spawning behavior, I actually think this pair is going to probably spawn maybe tomorrow, which would be cool. But spawning behavior usually comes shortly after a big water change. And in this tank with so many pairs, I can have 3 spawns going at once. And I usually do, once a week, have 3 spawns going. So you can see in that Tupperware there, actually the light's pretty bright, but I've got quite a few little black celestial ram fry in there. I actually keep one container in here just because this male here likes to look after them. He doesn't have a female, but he really likes looking after and fostering the little kiddos, so I let him do that. There's Beluga again, disappearing as soon as I get the camera out. He's very, very camera shy. Alrighty, so now that we've gone over sexing, water changes, and setup, I want to personally talk to you about temperature and pH, because a lot of you guys ask me about temperature and pH, and I'm telling you now, temperature can vary quite a bit, and so can pH. So you guys don't necessarily need to worry about that. But a lot of you guys want to know what my temperature and pH is because of how well my rams breed. So I'll tell you that. So for keeping rams and breeding them, a pH of between 6.5, 6.8 to 7.3, 7.4 is fine. I would try stay between the 6.8 and the 7.2 if you want to breed. So that's pH. Now for temperature, you want to make sure that the water's not too hot for breeding. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of the time, eggs, when they're in really hot water, so I'm talking 31, 32 degrees Celsius, like discus fish temperature, the fungus that starts growing on some of the infertile or some of the eggs that die as embryos, you know how they start getting that fuzziness to them. That's a fungus. And if you make the temperature between 30 and 32 degrees Celsius, I'd say, you're gonna make that fungus really, really rampant. It's gonna spread to all of your viable eggs, which is not what you want, and it's gonna infect those eggs, and then you're gonna have a really low hatch rate. So the perfect temperature, in my experience, this is my experience, I'm not telling you what the perfect temperature is, but for my fish, 28 degrees Celsius is the best temperature to prevent that fungus growth from going rampant, as well as stimulating breeding. I feel like after a big water change, a nice cold water change, 28 degrees Celsius with my heaters, heats up to 28 degrees Celsius, and that change in temperature has something to do with the stimulation of spawning. So 28 degrees Celsius and a pH of between 6.8 to 7.2. That's the main thing that you need to consider, in my opinion, if you want to breed them in regards to pH or water acidity and the temperature. So one more thing to consider is if you are having trouble breeding your rams and you do use that or you do have your water parameters at that pH and at that temperature, I would recommend introducing a lot of plants, a lot of spawning options for them, some wood. As you can see, I've got this really beautiful piece of driftwood here, and it acts as a barrier between two different parts of the tanks because I have two dominant males. The really big dominant male has 2/3 of the tank. The subdominant male controls his little kingdom here, if you like, and that's just what works. Okay, so this next point that I'm about to make sounds really trivial, but it's actually something that a lot of hobbyists and keepers and breeders alike do not do enough of, in my opinion. Sometimes we get so involved in trying to get these guys to breed that we forget to enjoy them. And I guess a lot of commercial breeders wouldn't really understand this, but They really should, because it is so beneficial for not only you as the hobbyist, but for these fish. And that is enjoying them. You know, sitting down and having a look at them is one of the best things you can do. Because when you sit down and enjoy them, you're actually listening to them in a way. You're kind of seeing what they need, and then you can make plans to give them what they need, to breed, to be happy, whatever your plan is. I feel like this happens a little bit too often, but I'm just gonna intervene in the video right now. And right at the back of the tank, this pair is actually spawning. You can see some white dots there. And not only that, but I just realized that another pair has spawned on the heater clamp. So I'm gonna have to go through and harvest those. That's the female that's responsible, and the male, I can't get a good shot of them because they're all the way at the back of the tank, but that's a good effort, and I might get those eggs out considering they're on something that I can move, and I might hatch those. Alrighty everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. I know it's quite short, but it is a informative video, and it's the best I could do for this week because of everything that's happened. And if you follow the channel, you know that I've had a pretty intense week with a bunch of stuff going on. So I appreciate you guys' support. Really enjoyed reading all of your comments, both for my partner and on the last video that we did. That was such a great thing to see everyone really getting on board, discussing these topics, really trying to get good at breeding rams and get good at keeping them. You know, it's all about, you know, improving. You know, I never stop learning. People come to me with so many questions, and I'm going to be the first to admit that I don't know the answer to any of them, and I'll be the first to admit that to them. But what I do know, I am more than happy to share that knowledge with you guys. And if I know you guys, if I get to know you, understand your strengths, understand your weaknesses, I'm happy to help out. And I'm also happy to ask you guys questions because I'm always learning as well. Like I always say, make sure that you comment down below, get the discussion going. Please like and subscribe this video if you haven't done so already. One thing I do need to disclose to you guys, well, I feel like I do, is I recently got monetized. Yay. Made my first 46 cents yesterday, which I was very excited about. I thought I'd just let you guys know that I am monetized, and there's no secrets between you guys and myself. This is obviously, it's obviously 46 cents. It's not that much, but hopefully the channel grows and I'll be able to make a little bit more money and invest that money back into the RAMS, back into getting more fish tanks, getting more plants, getting more driftwood, all that sort of stuff, so that you guys can get some really good content. Thank you everyone, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.